This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1722. Previews! I'm Ian Leatherstein.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everett. Woo!
Yeehaw.
Previews time, yo.
Indeed.
Yep, it's once again that special time of the month where we pick up the previews catalog and its DC and Marvel supplements and just page through it, point out any upcoming releases of interest, anything that looks good to us, anything that we think might look good to you, the listeners, and just enjoy whatever conversation develops from all of that. It's a good way to get our head straight as to what we would like to buy in a given month, and also provide some suggestions for you, the listeners, for things that you might not have been aware were coming out, but might nonetheless enjoy once your attention's been drawn to them.
And I'll be
I'm sorry, Murray, that was one of the best, and this is saying something, previous intros you've given yet. You perfectly condensed the whole purpose of the episode. Bravo, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Something just must have clicked into place upstairs as I was talking there. I actually managed to say something.
And Ian, forgive me, I cut you off, sir. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, and for once, I'll be working off of PDFs of the actual previews catalog, so I should be at least a little bit more in line with pages and what have you for this particular episode.
Even if you weren't, sir, no one riffs in a more sexy fashion than you.
Hello.
All is good. All right, Murray, our sponsor, brother.
Well, our sponsor, Chris, for this episode, as for every previews episode of Comic Geek Speak, is our friends at the Discount Comic Book Service. Their website is dcbservice.com, and they should be your first stop for your online comic book pre-ordering needs. Check out their website and see what kind of deals they have to offer you. Well, to start with, every single trade paperback and hardcover from Marvel and DC is automatically 50% off at this website. All new comic book single issue releases are 40% off from Marvel, DC, and also Dark Horse and Image. Smaller publishers, the discounts are not quite as great, but still considerable. They're more like 35% or so. And every month there are specials, certain key issues that are being released, often like first issues of series or crossover, what have you, that are 50% off automatically, or 60, or even as high as 75% off in some very rare and sought-after occasions. DCBS also offers bundles. Every month you have the option of buying certain groups of comics from the same publisher or imprint, or perhaps the installments in a single crossover, which are offered as a bundle. If you buy all of them in a single lump, you pay 50% off for the entire lot of them. There are several DC bundles on offer this month from DCBService.com, including a Vertigo bundle. From Marvel, there's a Fresh Start bundle, a Legacy bundle, and a bundle relating to the upcoming War of the Realms miniseries. Plus a Valiant bundle. And there are a bunch of, yes, there's some 50% off specials, which are also featured on the site, which I'll be spotlighting for you as we move forward through the episode. If you order your comics in advance from them, you get the choice of how often you're going to receive your shipments, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. You can also buy some bags and boards, a few different grades of quality of bags and boards, in fact, for a small extra fee. There's always DCBS's peerless customer service. If anything happens to go wrong with a shipment of comics you have ordered from them, you have only to send them an email, and Cameron or Christine or somebody working over there will absolutely attend to your problem and fix it for you post-haste. It's a service that all of us here at CGS have used at one time or another over the years and have learned to trust. They're a lifesaver for me because over the summers when I'm living in New Jersey in Cape May County, there are no nearby comic book shops where I could buy my comics, so DCBS has been my lifeline to the continuation of my hobby, and at a drastically reduced price from what I might pay just walking into a comic book shop off the street. So if you're looking for great customer service and great discounts and the convenience of ordering comics online, do give dcbservice.com a look, won't you?
And I want to confirm that because I just recently I realized I'd missed a couple books in a previous order, actually a few months ago. And I emailed them, and they got back and said, no problem, we'll put it in a future shipment. I mean, they're just spot on with that type of customer service. So, bravo. All right. Ian's got his PDF. Murda and I have our paper copies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
We're going to plunge right in. And let us, of course, commence with the first company, which is Image. All right. So we're on page 44, gentlemen. Ascender number 1. Jeff Lemire writing, Dustin Nguyen art and cover. Now, this is a continuation of a story I've never read. Descender? Anybody read that?
No.
Yep, I haven't either.
Okay, well, the artwork looks beautiful, and it's Jeff Lemire, so I'm sure this is worth checking out. I'll probably want to read Descender first, but
They do give us a whole timeline of how things are happening in this world immediately after the original solicits. So they're really going hard on this idea here, on this premise.
And I love when you see this in the classic Image series Lazarus by Rucka and Lark. I love when creators take the time to really flesh out the world that they're inhabiting and provide you with an historical context. It's fantastic. Plus, it takes a lot of time to do that. I mean, I love the thoughtfulness. So, bravo.
And I like the look of the preview pages. I'm looking at a few of the preview pages now that were included here in the PDF version, and the artwork reminds me a little bit of Lionel Francis Yu, and it's a little bit looser than some other styles, but at the same time, it definitely tells the story well. So intrigued as to what this is going to bring forward.
If you'd like to catch up on Descender before attempting to read Ascender, go to dcbservice.com, where 6 different trades of Descender are once again available for purchase. The first volume is actually only $5.99, so it's probably one of those $9.99 economy edition first volume trade paperbacks that Image puts out from time to time, which is a really smart move on their part.
Yes, it is. They've done that for several of their first volumes.
Yep.
And once you've done your back reading, you can come back and order Ascender number 1 through DCBS for 50% off.
Here.
No, I'm going to want to talk about something on page 58, but I'm going to jump in. Anything else you want to reference before that, my friends?
I'm looking at Little Girls here, and that actually does look kind of fascinating. That's on page 50. The new comic by Nicholas. I'm so gonna mispronounce that last name, but I'll give it a shot. Afolaji, with art by Sarah Delane. Something about it definitely intrigues me. Sam and Laylet are 2 new friends living in Ethiopia. They're dealing with the kind of problems that all kids have: judgmental social cliques, condescending adults, alienation, and the legendary brain-eating monster straight out of folklore.
All right.
So go ahead and add in that sci-fi aspect, and you immediately have me sold.
I like the artwork.
Yeah, very pretty.
And interesting, they've chosen Ethiopia as the setting for the story.
Yeah, you don't see that every day.
Good pick, Ian. Good pick. Murd, I wanted to jump ahead to page 58. So I know you're a Carl Kiesel and a Tom Grummett fan.
True and true.
And isn't this a reissue of one of the late lamented Guerrilla Comics offerings?
Chris, you are exactly right.
Okay, I thought so.
That is what we are seeing here. I recognize the sample pages here from section 0, number 1, which I did buy when it first came out years ago. So yeah, this I think is going to go beyond the tragically few issues of the series that actually saw print back then, though. I think we're going to get into this is basically a reissuing of the content that was offered in a single hardcover volume through a Kickstarter campaign that Kiesel and Grummett did last year. Actually, Mr. Kiesel made an appearance on Comic Geek Speak around the time that he was garnering support for that campaign to tell us about it. And Section Zero, the high concept given here in the solicitation is Jack Kirby does the X-Files, and that pretty much does cover it. It's very much indebted to Challengers of the Unknown. That it's a group of characters in matching jumpsuits who plumb mysteries of the supernatural while trying to keep them secret from an unsuspecting public. It's a group. Section Zero in story is a group that has a history going back decades. And actually, the next Kickstarter campaign they're going to do is going to be entitled Section Zero 1959, which is going to explore the Silver Age origins of the Section Zero team. 1959 also being, coincidentally, the year in which both Carl Kiesel and Tom Grummett were born. So here in their 60th birthday year, they're kind of waxing nostalgic for what was the hip thing in sci-fi popular culture at the time they were born. But first, before any of that happens, Image is offering us a single issue opportunity to purchase this story. If you didn't happen to support that Kickstarter campaign that allowed it to be reprinted in its more or less entirety. Kiesel and Grummett finally got a chance to finish the story they started with Guerrilla Comics nearly 20 years ago. And so here it is now in 6-issue miniseries form for your enjoyment.
And if listeners aren't familiar, Guerrilla Comics was a glorious, albeit brief, imprint that involved, listen to these names, Kurt Busiek, George Perez, Carl Kiesel, Tom Grummett. I'm forgetting some other creators who were involved. I want to say it came out in 2000 or 2001. I remember my dear friend and the actual co-founder of the original Wild Pig, Randy Rosk, actually bought the Guerrilla Comics T-shirt, which had a magnificent gorilla leaping out at you on the shirt. And each creator had a property. Like I remember Busiek's was Shock Rockets, for example. I forgot the Perez one. That was reissued
Plague,
too. Crimson Plague. Yep. And of course Empire by Mark Waid and
Barry Kitson,
which was tremendous. And DC did pick that up, and they did continue some of the stories. That was my favorite of all the offerings from that label. It was about a dystopian future where this conqueror basically takes over the earth and the damage it does to his actual family. It's so well done. It's Waid and Kitson, for Pete's sake. But I don't know, for whatever reason, Guerrilla Comics folded very quickly. I guess they had funding issues. But some of those properties have resurfaced in other ways, such as we see here with Section Zero. So all worth checking out. All right. Page 60. I know on the forums someone was talking about where Jonathan Hickman is, and the great Eric Nolan Wethington gave us some background on what he's up to lately. But he's still writing some of his own comics, and I read the first issues of Black Monday Murders. It was awesome. I didn't stay with it not because the book wasn't good. It just fell through the cracks, money and time and so forth. But great crime noir combined with Hickman-esque sci-fi weirdness, and just check it out. It's really good. I read the first couple and loved it.
And the last arc of this is going to be double sized, so double the pleasure, double the fun.
All right, what else in Image is jumping out at you, my brothers?
Well, I wanted to bring up on page 63 the latest special in the Rat Queen series being released. This one is Swamp Romp. Another one-shot. They've been doing a bunch of one-shots in the Rat Queens universe. But this is Ryan Ferrier with art and cover by Priscilla Petraitis. God, every name this.
Well, you're putting a lot of quarters in the jar this episode.
I know. every name I'm going to mispronounce, intentionally or not. But I am a big fan of Rat Queens. It's very Dungeons and Dragons in its fantasy setting. Only a little bit more grounded with the personalities. And this one here is another one shot in that world. And it involves dragons, monsters, and unicorns. So I don't think you can really go wrong with that. This one's
All right.
32 pages. Regular price is $3.99, and I think DCBS is giving it a 40% off discount for this one, so should be good.
All right. I'm jumping ahead in floppies, but we can always jump back if need be. I'm on page 74. I had to point out, so I just read the first issue of the latest volume of Criminal, which is the crime noir masterpiece by one of the greatest creative teams in comics operating right now, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Also work with Sean Phillips' son, Jacob Phillips, who's also a very talented artist. Boy, did that I miss a beat with this latest incarnation. All the Criminal volumes are interconnected. The characters overlap. All I'll say is, if you want to see masters at work who are at the top of their craft, if it says Brubaker and Phillips, buy it. You're not going to go wrong. What else, Honey Poos?
Have either of you been reading Die out of Image Comics?
No, but I see Kieran Gillen's writing it, so I'm automatically interested.
Well, this issue being solicited is issue 5, which is the end of the first story arc, which means there's definitely a trade to come. I'd say give the trade a shot once it's complete. A couple of friends of mine have been talking about this a lot, it's a black fantasy basically, where 40-something adults have to deal with the returning unearthly horror they barely survived as a teenage role players. So sort of stranger.
It's like Stephen King's It for the Dungeons and Dragons set?
Exactly. Yeah. So Stranger Things meets It is the way I was going to describe it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's Kieran Gillen, like you said, so it can't possibly be bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember this was the series that I compared to Mazes and Monsters a few months ago.
Wait, is that the Tom Hanks movie you educated me about?
The very same.
I love when you bring up pop culture chestnuts like that I had no clue existed.
Yeah, that's
and the premise of the movie sounded outrageously hilarious. So
yeah, it's basically kind of a moral panic thing tied into the fear at the time that RPGs were the devil's tool.
Fantastic. I love reactionary stuff like that. Until it becomes scary and real, then you want to fight it. But otherwise, it's immensely entertaining.
Right.
Looking at page 78, I forgot that Kevin Smith was writing a new Hit Girl
Yep.
story.
Yeah, we brought that up. Issue 1, we definitely brought up on previews. So this is the third issue of that. I believe it's a miniseries because I doubt it's an ongoing. But I'm curious about it. I need to. Speaking of Hit Girl, I need to go back and read the Kick-Ass volumes that have been coming out with the female Kick-Ass that they introduced more recently. Also not written by Mark Miller, but they basically relaunched Kick-Ass with a new girl in the Kick-Ass costume. They had solicited season 2 as a trade in previous pages of this previews, I believe. So worth a shot.
Page 86, A Prodigy by Mark Miller. I wanted to mention this because I read the first issue just recently. I got it in my shipment. It was a lot of fun. It's Mark Miller. The character is literally a prodigy who can basically seemingly solve any problem and, incorporate any talent into his arsenal. And it's, they're setting up him having to take on some massive earth-threatening situation. And if you enjoy Mark Miller's sensibility, you'll like – the first issue was a lot of fun. So he's always got that certain wit to it. Anything else from Image, gentlemen?
Taking a look.
Is Walking Dead ever going to end?
Nope. By the way, it's Steve Niles who's writing the new Kick-Ass series.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I will point out Paper Girls number 27. It's part 2 of the final arc. So once again, Paper Girls will be coming to a conclusion once this final arc is done with.
And since that's, for me, the greatest writer in comics, Brian K. Vaughan, I dropped off this. It's great. It was just time and money, but I will get the trades when they finish this up because it was magnificent. The first however many issues I read of it.
Yep.
I was making my bad Walking Dead crack, not because I hate Walking Dead, but just I've talked about in the past how the book jumped the shark for me shortly after issue 100 because I read it consistently up through that point.
Yeah.
Do you read it, Ian?
I'm a little bit behind, but I'm further ahead than you are. One thing that I will mention is that it was recently announced on the TV side of things that Michonne will be exiting the series as a regular, so I have no idea where they're going anymore, because they're definitely not following the comics in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Are you still enjoying the comic?
From what I've been reading, it's definitely still enjoyable. I don't know if it's as enjoyable as it was, say, pre-World War, but I am enjoying the stuff with the Whisperers, who's the current villain on the show as well, but I'm way behind on the show, so I can't tell you anything about that.
Speaking of, for me, what is one of the great comics is on hiatus right now. On page 93, 2 new Saga T-shirts. That Prince Robot shirt will be in my order, ladies and gentlemen. That looks tremendous. And he's my favorite character in the book. So, do gentlemen read Saga?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm 2 volumes behind, but
okay.
They're next on my reading pile once I'm done with my volumes of Invincible that I've been reading recently. So
then you can catch up on since the book's on hiatus.
Yes, it is.
So, man, wait till you get the last issue. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yep. What I love about Saga is because it's creator owned. Vaughn and Staples clearly have an agenda, and they're telling their story, and nothing and no one is sacred or safe. And that's as it should be. That's dynamic fiction right there.
And talking about great Image books, before we close on Image, we only have 2 more issues left of The Wicked and the Divine as well.
Murd's always spoken very highly of that book.
Yep. Yes, and I hope deservedly so.
2 more issues to go, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So well deserved on that end, Murd. Well deserved.
All right, thank you for backing me up, Ian.
No problem.
I'll have to go trade on that, because anything Murd recommends, I always want to read. I just haven't read any of it. So
the artwork is just flat out gorgeous, Chris.
Oh yeah.
And it's Kieran Gillen writing it.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's a story about a little circle of mythological deities who are reincarnated every couple of centuries or so and live for 20 or so years, live fast, die young, leave a beautiful corpse, do it all again a couple centuries later.
Huh. All right.
Reincarnation at its finest.
Dark Horse, gentlemen?
Sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we've got another Neil Gaiman's American Gods miniseries coming out. It's an ongoing series, no less. About the same time that the second season of the TV series should be coming out. Yes, and the first issue, it's got art by P. Craig Russell.
Who they also list as co-writers. So I wonder how much of this is Neil Gaiman plotting and P. Craig Russell doing the writing. But either way, it should be good stuff.
Yes.
P. Craig Russell's one of those wonderful artists from the Bronze Age. Like artists like him, Tom Sutton, Mike Ploog. Who's the legendary artist that did Doctor Strange? Frank Brunner. They all have the sensibility that I so associate with the 70s. And they're all such wonderful fantasy artists. And, P. Craig Russell did such powerful work. I mean, people might know him when he did the classic Killraven series with Don McGregor in the Bronze Age, for example, among other things. But great artist. Perfect for a Gaiman story.
Right. Pair him up with Gaiman, forget about it.
Yeah.
And the first issue is 50% off at dcbservice.com.
Hear, hear.
I wanted to point out, and again, I've never read this, but on page 103, The Umbrella Academy, I didn't realize that's a Netflix show now with Ellen Page.
Yes, it is. Yep, and I am a huge Umbrella Academy fan. I've not read the most recent series because I'm waiting for trade on it, but the first 2 miniseries I read were excellent, and it's so far reviews have been very positive for those people who have gotten to see the first couple of episodes. Critics and whatnot. They've been giving it very high praise, so I hope it is. I hope it's anywhere near as good as the series was, because it's good stuff.
And just quickly, what is the premise? Because I don't know of Umbrella Academy.
So Umbrella Academy is essentially a whole bunch of orphans are gathered together by a benefactor, and each of these orphans have abilities, and the benefactor brings them together to be a super team. And they're essentially almost like a Teen Titans-esque super team, and then we leave where we first meet them, it's years later. And they're then being brought back together to try and keep the world from falling apart. And a lot has changed with these characters since they were first heroes. One of them is in a monkey body. One of them is immortal and is forever a child. A whole bunch of various strange things are brought in by Gerard Way, and the Gabriel Ba art couldn't be more pretty if it tried. It's well worth your time, Chris.
Well, your recommendation is enough, sir. I because I was watching Colbert and he had Ellen Page on, and she was. I've always been a big fan of her work, and she was making an impassioned sort of plea to the country about the state of things politically. Very eloquent, very moving. And then at the very end, she said, "Oh, by the way, Umbrella Academy, it's great. You should see it." Yeah, that's high praise coming from you.
Yep. Yeah, very good. First two trades are readily available, and the third series here should be ending shortly.
All right. Well, every month I have to point out on page 107, because I just feel it's my duty, is Black Hammer. If you want, again, if someone wants to check out the essence of what makes a great superhero comic, there it is. It's Jeff Lemire, is the writer, of course. Dean Ormston does art. And then we have Black Hammer 45, which I can't wait. I don't have issue 1 yet, which is the world of Black Hammer during the Second World War. It's the essence of Golden Age concepts, but obviously turned on its head in a much darker, more sordid way. It's an Eisner winner, and it should be. It's easily one of the best comics being made today, in my humble opinion. So,
I'd be.
What else for? Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I'd be remiss to not bring up on page 104, BPRD, The Devil You Know, number 15. After 15 years of BPRD, the series reaches its conclusion.
Wow.
Mike Mignola writing, with Scott Alley also writing, and Lawrence Campbell doing illustrations. I don't know if there's going to be anything else BPRD after this, but for now, this is it. So
good picky, and I missed that. Well done.
Yep.
What else for Dark Horse Brothers? I'm pretty set myself, but you may have other things I may have missed. Which one to shout out?
Merge, you got anything?
Nope. I believe my. Yep, I have nothing more to mention.
Levy Poo, how about you?
I think that's just about it. I'm taking a look right now. You mentioned Black Hammer already. You know what? Actually, let me mention this. Disney The Incredibles 2: Secret Identities #1, written by Christos Gage.
Ooh,
with art by John Claudio Vinci. And it looks to be a side series in the Incredibles universe, and it's very much taking its own art style, inspired by the Incredibles, but they're not trying to do 3D, which I appreciate, and it could be really cool. Just even looking at it, it's a Violet featured story, and Violet's one of the more complicated characters of the Incredibles universe, and I did enjoy that second movie. And with Christos Gage giving it the writing, I'm intrigued. It's a 3-issue miniseries.
All right. DC, brethren?
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, Ian. I looked right through that because the art style is so different from the Pixar standard that I didn't even perceive it as Incredibles 2, even though the words Incredibles 2 are right there on the cover.
Yeah, they're going for more of a manga style, it looks like. But I saw the words Christos Gage, and that's what drew my interest.
Yep, and would have drawn mine too if I could have seen past the artwork. But yeah, I think I better put a mark on that right now.
All right.
Now, I want to take a moment and point out, this is a perfect example of how clutch you are in the show now, because Bert and I both totally missed that. And God, man, I always talk about how Mert is the guy I want by my side in the foxhole. I want you there too, buddy. Bad. Woof.
You're going to have two guys bringing you buckets of ammo, Chris.
Hell yeah.
I would definitely be handing the ammo more than anything else. I don't know if I'd be too good as a shooter, but I played a couple of light gun games back in the day, so maybe that'll work.
You leave the shooting to me. I'll do my best, and you let's hold the line there.
Amen.
All right, DC.
All right.
That cover to Heroes of Crisis 8 is gorgeous. God.
It is.
Wow. It's a Mitch Gerads cover, who just, of course, did his magnificent work on Miracle Man. Not Mr. Miracle, excuse me, not Miracle Man, Mr. Miracle.
Right.
Also with Tom King.
They're making me worry, though. They're really making me worry that with Wally being the center of this, they're making me worry that they may be doing something with the character that I may not like, but we'll find out soon enough.
We shall find out, and let's have faith in Tom and his vision.
Fingers crossed.
I understand your concern, sir, but
yeah,
we shall see. Page 2 and 3. I'm looking forward to this story. It hasn't come out yet, but the Terminus agenda. You can't go wrong with a Deathstroke Teen Titans crossover, especially when Christopher Priest is involved. So, very much looking forward to that. Enough said. I mean, it's their greatest adversary, the Teen Titans. So, cool. Now, obviously, you know what I'm most excited about out of this entire previews.
Oh, of course.
It's on page 4 of the DC catalog.
Mm-hmm.
6 Days, the incredible short story of D-Day's Lost Chapter, a OGN hardcover, written by Robert Venditti and Kevin. Almost sounds like our own Kevin Moyer, maybe not Moyer, like our Kevin. And this is what's also very important. Art and cover by the great Andrea Moody, who did the Rebel series, which is the historical take on with Brian Wood on the era of the American Revolution, the French and Indian War. So I'm extremely excited to read this. The artwork is gorgeous. I know just from Moody's work on Rebels that there's a clear understanding of historical authenticity, of how the gear should look, the uniforms, etc. And this is a little-known aspect of D-Day I wasn't familiar with. You remember? So June 6th is the 75th anniversary of Operation Overlord. The Allied invasion of Nazi-occupied France during World War II. One of the key turning points of the Second World War, although I have to be a bit of a curmudgeon and point out to people that without the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany is not being beaten. So, not a popular attitude really in America, but sorry, gang. We needed the big bad Stalin to beat the big bad Hitler. So it's an uncomfortable but an ugly truth. But this is about the Allied invasion, America, Britain, Canada, and other allies. And apparently the night before D-Day, as some listeners probably know, we dropped thousands of paratroopers behind German lines to seize, key road junctions, bridges, coordinate with French resistance, and so forth. And apparently this is based on a true story where a contingent of paratroopers is dropped so far behind enemy lines that they're isolated and trapped, and they're going to be besieged by a much larger force of German troops. So comes out on May 8th. I'll be reading it as soon as it is in my eager hands. I love when comics go into historical events like this, especially something that's my greatest passion, which is the Second World War.
Right.
So I'll be sure to discuss this when I've read it.
Yeah. And because it is a DC hardcover, it's automatically 50% off at dcbservice.com. So mere $12.49.
All right.
How about DC Inc., gentlemen? Teen Titans Raven trade paperback, written by Cami Garcia, art and cover by Gabriel Piccolo. It looks like a young adult Raven graphic novel. If the inside looks anything like that cover, I'm gonna love the art style.
The cover's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Very striking, very youthful, very unique.
Yep.
And it looks
and
like
I love the design of her logo too.
Yes.
Good pick, Ian.
Yeah, and it's from a New York Times best-selling co-author of Beautiful Creatures. So they're going more for the and this seems to be something that Marvel's doing as well. They're going more for proven novel writers to try and give their shot at comics, and could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. We'll find out.
Well, anything that might bring some more readers into the medium, by all means, give it a shot.
Amen. Yeah,
so
definitely.
I wanted to point out on page 12 and 13. I've waxed rhapsodic ad nauseum about the majesty of Tom King's Batman run. Loving that Amanda Connor's doing the art for issue 68.
Oh, wow.
So, wow. God, the talent they get on this book. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. That will be an interesting change of pace.
Yeah. So, and then the issue 69 is Yannick Paquette. So,
well, can we go back a couple of pages talking about
great? You do whatever you want, buddy.
Great artists. Steve Epting art and cover for Action Comics number 1010.
Oh!
Steve Epting drawing Superman. That's all I have to say. I am floored, and I will be reading that. That just, I mean, the cover looks great, and Steve Epting is just one of those artists that I will follow pretty much anything that he does. And
it's funny you mention that, Ian, because sometimes I really love a particular arc or a like a finite series. I'll always make sure I get a collection of it down the road to reread in one shot. Did you read Velvet by Brubaker and Epting?
Not yet, but it's on my to
read. Man!
Yeah.
Because I had the hardcover. I've been waiting to crack it up because I read the issues when they came out. So it's Brubaker and Epting, who, of course, we know them from the classic Winter Soldier stories in Captain America. This is their take on a female espionage agent. Just get it. It's Brubaker doing what he does best, and the artwork is simply breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the great masters, Steve Epting.
Yeah. The main character, Velvet Templeton, is kind of she's moody and mature. She's been in the espionage game throughout the whole Cold War. Yep. She's kind of in the autumn of her years now. But the artwork by Epting, it reflects her state of mind at this stage in life. And she's kind of dragged back into one more mission related to her past. And it's just as mature and moody as her personality is. Chris is right. It's a gorgeous book with some very well rendered in both writing and art characters.
Mert, I didn't realize you'd read that story.
I've read the first trade's worth.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. And they have it in the entire series is collected in a hardcover volume. So because it wasn't that long. So all right. What else for floppies, gentlemen, in DC? A lot of ongoing books here, of course.
Yeah. Return to Burnside for Batgirl. I see she has to finally move out and return to her old stomping grounds. So first time back in that particular area of Gotham for Batgirl in a while. Art by Paul Pelletier and Norm Rapmond as well.
I'm jumping way ahead here. Page 39. So the book Naomi, written by Bendis and Walker, art and cover by Jamal Campbell. The newest sensation of the DC universe discovers the secret behind her birth, her adoption, her connection to the great multiverse. Hop on board a look at the DC multiverse you never knew existed and the new mysteries and threats it brings to our world. Has anybody read this? Because two great writers, Bendis and David Walker. Multiverse? You know anything about this? Or
I didn't realize it had multiversal implications.
Yeah.
I've heard positive things about it, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay.
It may very well be one of those purchases that I make in the next couple of minutes, to be honest, because I knew it had come out. I just didn't realize that it had come out so recently. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a go, definitely.
Well, I love David Walker, his writing. So
yes.
And Bendis. I mean, that's probably worth checking out.
Yep. Peter Tomasi writing Detective Comics. Detective Comics number 1001. So this is the right after the big anniversary issue, art and cover by Brad Walker and Andrew Hennessy. And it says, after 1,000 issues, you'd think Batman could finally have a break. But no. Shocking.
I wanted to point out as I'm leaving the floppy section, there is no Scooby-Doo team up in this catalog.
Yeah, I was just noticing that. You've got Apocalypse and Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? But, well, for a while there it was bi-monthly.
Okay. I mean, I haven't read much of it, but I know you guys speak highly of it. What I have read is wonderful. I hope it's not going the way of the Dodo. That would be a shame.
Yes, it certainly would.
Did you guys bring up the new Dial H for Hero series last month?
We did, actually, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just checking. Yeah, because I see issue 2 solicited here.
Well done, Ian. I'm into trades and somebody has other floppies they want to talk about. Anybody? Other floppies?
Nothing offhand. Flipping through real quick, though. Let's see.
Well, one thing. Go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the Green Lantern #6. Grant Morrison writing Adam Strange. Enough said.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
I wanted to point out, because I never knew about this. On page 61, so Loeb and Sale did a Challengers of the Unknown series?
Yes, that's taking us back to...
I never read this.
1990, I think that came out.
Oh, there you go.
Very early 90s. It kind of slipped between the cracks.
Did you read this, Mert?
No, actually, this falls into a little window of time between the years roughly 1989 and 1991, right before I started reading comics. That has always been and remains a blind spot for me. I haven't dipped into the comics of those few years very much at all. But yeah, I think that would be the first collaboration between those two creators, I think. It's a take on the Challengers that never quite took, as it were.
It says their fabled mountaintop headquarters blows up, and the quartet suddenly find themselves on trial for their lives. I mean, I may get this because I love that team, Loeb and Sale, and I never knew they did this. That might be interesting. You know, I'm sorry to say, because I know Pants especially loves this. I've never really read the Mark Waid Flash run.
Oh, you have to.
I know. I know it. That's a real hole for me in my reading experience.
Yeah, especially not even just the Flash, but the Impulse stuff that he did as well, fleshing out the character. It's easily some of my favorite Flash stuff. His and Jeff Johns' runs are the two standout Flash runs for me, period.
And this is Wally West we're talking about, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, actually, one of his best arcs was the Return of Barry Allen arc, where
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, where it appears that Barry Allen has come back from the dead, and not all is what it appears to be. And it's such good storytelling, and a lot of his run also involved the late great Mike Wieringo, and. There's come on, the Waid and Wieringo as a team is one of the perennial teams of all time.
Well, I cherish the Waid Wieringo one on Fantastic Four.
Yes,
and I'm honored that I had a piece of original art by Wieringo from that FF run. It's only pencils. It's not inked yet.
Outstanding.
It's a Dr. Doom page.
Oh my God.
So that was when original art was affordable, ladies and gentlemen. Because I couldn't buy that page now, let me tell you. In fact, Pants sent me a link. He does this to taunt me in a loving way. Because he knows I want a Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu page by Gene Day. Because I revered Gene Day's work on that title in the 80s. And he always sends me covers or pages when he finds them. They're all going for thousands of dollars. Like, I just feel like the same small group of people is buying all this art. Because who the hell has that kind of money? I mean, it's just – damn.
That is actually a decent segue. Just for a second, if you guys don't mind updating the listeners on Pants, since it was brought up on the forums, people were wondering how he's doing.
Go for it.
Merd, I know that you went to see Rios's play with him, correct?
Yes, that was just a little over 2 weeks ago. The play was called Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. Our friend Peter Rios was directing it at a little theater in South Jersey, just across the Delaware River from Philly. And so Pants and I decided to take a Friday evening and drive across the river and see it. And he's in pretty good spirits. I think the Eagles had just gotten bounced out of the playoffs, so we commiserated about that. And he was telling me about his job. He works for a company that subcontracts to various Walmart locations, going in and doing like freelance design and restocking of displays.
Okay.
So he's been kind of making the rounds between 3 different Walmarts that he serves, and he enjoys not working directly for the chain store where he's working. You know, he likes being an independent contractor. And so he's getting around. He's doing some stuff. And as a matter of fact, he's heading out to Gallifrey 1 in the near future.
Very good.
Yep. He's living La Vida Pantalones.
And if you listen very, very closely, you can probably hear his laugh.
Yes, it echoes in the CGS studios still.
I always will. By the way, since we're doing these little quick asides, our dear friend Ryan Feeden, working in concert with our dear friend Dan Cangel in Pittsburgh, just sent me a link. Hulu has announced animated Marvel series, including, wait for it, Howard the Duck.
Yes, I heard about that.
And also, wait. Oh, wow. MODOK, Tigra, Dazzler, and Hitmonkey.
Yeah, that is a Tigra Dazzler team up show. So it is technically, I mean, if you want to count it this way, the first crossover between the X-Men universes and the Marvel universe, but it's an animated, so it doesn't really count since that's happened many times. But still.
The 4 series will cultivate a special titled Marvel's The Offenders.
The Offenders. All right. Given those characters, I can see how that title would be appropriate.
Well, the fact they're doing a MODOK show, and wait, Patton Oswalt's involved in it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's going to be great.
Interesting choice.
Wait. Kevin Smith's involved in the Marvel Howard the Duck one. And it's going to feature Dr. Bong. Oh!
Of course it will.
Wow. Okay. Aside over, but kudos to Ryan and Dan. Clutch.
Well done. Have any of you read Pearl?
Go ahead, sir. What's that?
Have any of you read Pearl by Bendis and Gaydos?
Nope.
I have not.
Okay. I was wondering if you had, because I'm looking to start reading it since it's the pairing of Bendis and Gaydos, and Alias is easily one of my favorite comics of all time. So
as it should be.
Yeah, because issue 8 is solicited here.
Good recommendation, my friend. I'm looking at page 64, a classic that never goes out of style. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling Heroes. Yet another edition of the classic O'Neill, Adams, Giordano, Bronze Age. I mean, when a lot of people think of the Green Lantern, the Green Arrow, they think of these stories, essentially. You know, the fabled, my ward's a junkie, you know, Speedy is on heroin, and, you know, they're traveling around trying to help the environment. And, you know, it's classic topical stories from the was it late 60s, early 70s? I forgot which. I want to say early 70s.
A little bit of the very late 60s, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe, or at least that's when the new look Green Arrow first appeared. Was in The Brave and the Bold in 1969. Yeah. Green Lantern and Green Arrow number 76 might have been like 1970.
Well, if you haven't read those stories, very important. Page 66, excuse me. Hitman Book 1. So they're reprinting this classic Ennis McCrae series. For me, this is one of the greatest things Garth Ennis has ever done. It doesn't always get as much play as, you know, Preacher and so forth, but he takes a character, he creates this character, he puts him in the DC universe, and uses that character to often mock different aspects of the DC universe. One of my favorites when he stiffs Kyle Rayner for the bill at the bar, for example.
Yeah. Garth Ennis has no respect for the concept of Green Lantern at all. And,
nope. And, of course, this also features the classic not these particular stories, but the Hitman series also, of course, features what's the name of that team of heroes?
Section 8.
Section 8, which features, of course, Dog Welder. That's all I have to say there. But it's magnificent in its humor, but there's also a real pathos because it's really about this guy, Tommy the hitman, and his relationship with the people around him, other hitmen, women. It's so well done. It's very poignant in many ways, but a tremendous series. I highly recommend it.
I just dealt with the final issue of that series in my last Time Bubble episode.
Nice. Oh, yeah, right. Yes.
Moving. It was moving, wasn't it, Mert?
Yes, it was extremely poignant.
Yeah.
And speaking of final issues, and Kyle Rayner, by the way, the final solicited issue of Titans was this month, and Kyle joined the team a little while ago. So one less Titans series for DC until they reboot it 3 months from now, I'm sure.
Right.
By the way, also on page 66, House of Secrets, The Bronze Age Omnibus Volume 2, with a never-published story, Night of the Rat by the great Jerry Conway and Arthur Nestor Redondo, which also stars the Patchwork Man, Murd.
Ah, yes. A little-known spin-off character from the Swamp Thing family. Yeah, he's Dr. Arcane's brother.
So a never-published Jerry Conway story. Wonderful.
Wow.
All right, I gotta go to page 69. So I don't talk much about Mad Magazine, but I'm not going to get political because I want everyone to feel welcome who's listening to the show, but that's a hell of a cover. And depending on where you fall in the political divide, you're either going to be outrageously offended by this, or even in a good way, just deeply disturbed. That's talk about capturing the essence of something. That's wow. That's quite a cover.
Nobody does it like Mad.
Yeah. Murd, I thought you want to talk about on page 72 the Shazam: The World's Mightiest Mortal, Volume 1.
I'll get to that in a sec. I want to jump back real quick here first, though. Back to page 64, right above the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling Heroes trade paperback you were talking about, Chris. If you're in the mood for a slightly more contemporary reimagination of Green Lantern, of Hal Jordan, Green Lantern Earth 1, part of this series of Earth 1 new takes on their classic characters, sort of an out-of-continuity might exist on a parallel Earth somewhere in the multiverse, might not, doesn't really matter at this point. But it's taking these classic characters back and looking at their origins through a different lens. It's kind of like what the All-Star series of series that DC was doing.
Sure.
So Green Lantern this time around is getting the Earth One treatment from a couple of creators who have been friends of the show in the past, Gabriel Hardman and his wife Corinna Bechko. They're co-writing it, and Gabe is doing the artwork.
Nice.
And it's Hal Jordan gaining his Green Lantern ring. Not while crash landing an experimental jet in the middle of the desert, but while actually being out in space where one is more likely to encounter alien police forces and things like that. So apparently it was released in hardcover some time ago. It's finally out in trade paperback so that cheapskates like me can pick it up and enjoy it. So if you are like me and have been waiting for this more economy-minded softcover edition, now's your chance to pick it up. It's 144 pages of original story. It's $16.99, and of course less than that at dcbservice.com. And it looks like GL is going to be going up against the Manhunters in his first story in this version of continuity. So it's probably going to be good. All right. And now getting back to what Chris thought I should be talking about to begin with. On page 72, DC's releasing a new, it's hardcover no less, Shazam, yes. The World's Mightiest Mortal, Volume 1. All right, now this is DC's, obviously as a tie-in for the Shazam movie coming out this April, DC is starting to re-release its earliest original Captain Marvel material. So this is not Golden Age or Atomic Age Fawcett stuff. These are the first Captain Marvel comics that DC published back in the early 70s. So it's in full color. It's the first 18 issues, and it's $49.99 or more like $25 at dcbservice.com. It's got some work by C.C. Beck, who is the co-creator of the original Captain Marvel. It's got scripts by by Elliot S. Maggin, who was one of my favorite writers of the Bronze Age, by E. Nelson Bridwell, who's a continuity maven and one of my personal heroes, Otto Binder, who is the most prolific Captain Marvel writer of all time, Denny O'Neil, a guy you wouldn't necessarily expect to write Captain Marvel stories, but he was kind of making the rounds in the Bronze Age, reinventing lots of different DC characters, and art by Dave Cockrum, Kurt Schaffenberger, Bob Oxner, and others. Now, DC put out one of their Showcase Presents volumes of these stories a bunch of years ago, which I do own, but that is in black and white. If you'd like to see it in glorious color beneath two stiff hardcovers, give this one a try. It's a good way to get yourself prepped. Oh, well, unfortunately, it's going to be released nearly 2 months after the release of the movie, so maybe a little late for you to get yourself pumped for the movie. But if you enjoy what you see in the movie and would like to see some more traditional Shazam comics fare, this would be a good place to go.
Is the movie come out in March or April? I've forgotten what.
I believe the Marvel the movie that's actually entitled Captain Marvel.
That's March, I knew, yeah. Okay.
But Shazam, I think, is April 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Looking at it now, it's they're only a few weeks apart, but one's in March and one's in April.
Anything else for DC, gentlemen?
I got a few.
Go for it.
So jumping back to page 68, I got to bring up Legends of the Dark Knight, Michael Golden. Collecting a bunch of different issues. But it's art by Michael Golden, P. Craig Russell, Dick Giordano, and others, with writing by Denny O'Neil, Jerry Conway, Len Wein, and Mike W. Barr. A bunch of different issues of Batman collected here. It's old school deliciousness, and had to be brought up because I don't know if these issues have even been collected before in any fashion. So now they have. So there you go. And
Golden's work.
Oh, it's so good, so good.
Micronauts, baby, Micronauts.
Yes. And I have to bring up page 69, The Outsiders by Judd Winnick, book 1. This is a series that has, in some ways, been forgotten, even though it wasn't that long ago. And I still think it was one of the best comics to come out while it was coming out. Judd Winnick did a great job of reviving The Outsiders as a concept. And the team itself was very well-rounded, and each character had their own unique voice and personality, and a bunch of the characters in this wound up being introduced in the Black Lightning TV series. So,
righto. Yep, this is the first appearance of oldest daughter Anissa in the first issue.
Yep.
And Ian, this series has not been forgotten by me because I'm still reading it.
Yes. which means hopefully it'll be in a bubble sometime soon, because I love hearing about that.
I don't know about soon, but it will definitely be in a bubble sometime.
Sounds good to me.
Did you hear the way Murray pronounced time just then, ladies and gentlemen? I just got a chill up my spine. Promise of glories to come.
It was meant to.
Ready for IDW, my friends?
Let's roll.
All right, well, I'm sorry Shane's not here for this, but page 133, a new Star Trek comic, Year 5, number 1. So as you know from the classic series, they always have the introduction, their 5-year mission. So now they're going to have to take on what happened during that 5th year. Written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, art by Stephen Thompson. I'm sorry, Ian, go ahead.
No, please. No,
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. How has it taken him this long to do this? Because considering Buffy did this, 10 years ago, and Angel did this 10 years ago, and this seemed to be the fad that was going on years ago. How are they first doing this now with the Star Trek franchise?
I don't know. I don't know what the status of the license was at the time period you're talking about. And you're right about Angel and Buffy, of course. But yeah. I can't answer that off myself. But better late than never.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I read the first issue of the Q Conflict. The Tiptons are just like the maestros of Star Trek comics, essentially. So if those are familiar with the Next Generation, the Q, of course, is the sort of the omnipotent entity who can just rearrange reality to suit his various whims. He's often used as a comedic foil for Picard.
Mm-hmm. He's the Mixius Pitlick of the Star Trek.
Perfectly put, Murray. Perfectly put, exactly. And here they're bringing in all the crews. So the original series, Next Generation, my favorite series, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and they all got to contend with Q. So, first issue was fun. How about on page 134 and 35? It's been 35 years
Oof.
since Ghostbusters.
And they're celebrating all of it.
Yes, they are. They got the real Ghostbusters. And Ian, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there also a fake Ghostbusters cartoon?
So that came first.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what was it? Was it Playmates or was it Merge? You probably know.
It was a Filmation production.
That's what it was. Okay. Yeah. And that's the entire reason why they had the real in front of their name was because there was a Ghostbusters TV show that had nothing to do with the Ghostbusters, and they're like, well, we're the only ones that matter. We're the real ones.
So the fake cartoon is not featured here, then I take it.
No, because it has nothing to do with this Ghostbusters.
I wonder what the licensing issues were back then. That's odd that they're able to do that.
I think there might have been a space in between Ghost and Busters as well.
Oh.
Okay. But I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I think that may have been part of it. Is that they, the licensing was loose enough where they were able to get that by. But I appreciate that there's movie Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters, and reboot Ghostbusters all being celebrated here at once.
And then what's Extreme Ghostbusters?
Extreme. Oh, that's my era right there. All right. So I mean, mind you, I grew up on the real Ghostbusters. Animated, and I had a freaking firehouse, and my parents took the slime away from me immediately because they didn't want me getting it all over the rug. But the Extreme Ghostbusters was actually essentially Ghostbusters: The Next Generation.
Okay.
This was an animated series that came out in the mid-90s-ish. And it continued the continuity of the real Ghostbusters animated series, where Egon was the mentor character, sort of the Professor X, for a new generation of Ghostbusters, and occasionally the other Ghostbusters would show up as well. But it was actually a pretty well formed series. The art style was very unique and different, but I felt it was very much in the spirit of the original.
Well, we talked in our previous episode how they have released a teaser trailer where Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan, is going to be directing Ghostbusters 3.
Yep.
Essentially. Color me excited. So the fact there's a Reitman at the helm fills me with a lot of confidence.
He's the right man for the job.
You know, Ian, in some cultures, you probably would have been smited for something that bad. But you delivered it with such panache, sure, that we just have to tip our hats and move on.
In this tiny little subculture, it is encouraged.
Exactly.
I'm jumping ahead to page 149. This is interesting for me. Star Wars Adventures Destroyer. Now, we mentioned before how I guess Disney's spreading the love because IDW is doing some Star Wars comics as well. And this is an interesting concept because they're going into the Star Destroyer that is on Jakku, that massive Hulk that Rey has been scavenging. And they're going to go into what happened to the destroyer and the battle above Jakku and how it crashed. I'm getting this. It looks like it's an OGN. I think it's 80 pages for $10. Maybe this was done as individuals before. I don't know, but I definitely want to read this. So looks like it could be a lot of fun. What else for IDW, my friends?
Well, speaking of Disney spreading the love for their various properties and comics, I see that there's a new series coming out from IDW based on the Big Hero 6 animated series. It's been airing on the Disney Channel.
How is that, Murd? Have you watched any of it?
I have not seen a single moment of it, Ian, but I know it exists, and now there's a comic based on it. That's on page 140, and also the series of DCOMs, that's Disney Channel original movies, called Disney Descendants, which is about Generation Y children or grandchildren or what have you of classic Disney movie villains enrolling in an academy together. So there's a Disney Descendants comic now also. That's on page 141.
I want to put on page 161. Dick Tracy Forever #1, written and drawn by Michael Avon Oeming. He is a perfect artist for this property. Wow.
That's pretty
and
good.
Great alternate cover by Kyle Baker. This could be a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Great cover.
I want to jump back to 142 because I didn't know that this comic existed. Disney Afternoon Giant.
Mm-hmm.
This is number 4. The 8-year-old in me just became very, very happy because a lot of those Disney Afternoon franchises do not get the time of day at this point. You know, stuff like Tailspin and Chip 'n Dale's and hopefully they include Gargoyles in here one way or the other, but I doubt it since Gargoyles has its own problems with licensing. But
right.
Yeah, but it's nice to see them getting a little bit of love.
Yep.
Now, I remember Gargoyles. I'm sorry, Mert. Go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, just we'll put in one thing here. They're focusing mainly on original formula DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers so far.
Got it.
I believe we'll be seeing some Darkwing Duck stories eventually, too.
Excellent.
Now, I'm ignorant. What are the licensing issues with Gargoyles?
Well, Gargoyles was split off from the main Disney licensing at least once or twice. And I know I think Slave Labor Graphics may have had the rights at one point, and they most definitely do not anymore. And I know that the main Gargoyles series was canceled before it was concluded. Then they wound up finally putting out the rest of that series of issues as a graphic novel to try and finish things, because this was essentially supposed to be the continuation of the Gargoyles animated series. And it came to a neat bow, but they really haven't gone back to Gargoyles ever since. I know that Greg Weisman would like to at some point, but they haven't. And frankly, I don't really want to see anyone other than Greg Weisman do Gargoyles because it's his baby.
All right. Well, Ian, that's the kind of insight I always appreciate from you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ready for Marvel, guys? Or you have any more IDW you want to touch upon?
I think we can roll ahead. What about you, Mert?
On page 166, issue number 6, the final issue of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, The Tempest, which is supposedly, it's being hyped as, at least, the final comic book for Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill.
Wow.
So finally putting a close not only to the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in its varied incarnations, but also supposedly the end of the comics careers of these two men.
Well, I read the first issue of it, loved it because I've loved all of Moore's League work, but I missed the next couple, so I have to wait for the trade on that. But the first issue was awesome, as is all the stuff he's done with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So,
and 150 GoBots. Enough said.
I made a point of mentioning that when they first listed at issue 1. I had to go back to the one reference of GoBots in popular culture when Danny Glover mentions it in Lethal Weapon. It was like you could tell the movie was made in that brief window where people knew what GoBots were, and then Transformers eclipsed it, and that was the end of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Until they show up again in Clerks 2.
Yes.
Which is a classic discussion there.
Yeah, Robot Chicken has kind of been having their way with GoBots for years now. But if you'd like to see a more dignified take on GoBots, this is by Tom Scioli, who is a disciple of Jack Kirby. And it's kind of like imagine if Jack Kirby, during his 2001 A Space Odyssey period, had taken on the GoBots characters, in that vein. As kind of his experimental late 70s science fiction storytelling. That's what Scioli is doing with the GoBots in this miniseries. So, and here it is, collected in one volume for $17.99.
All right. Okay, so Marvel. Well, let's see what's going on here. Now, here's my take, because as some of you may know, I tend to get more and more cynical about big crossover events, but two things are important here. One, Jason Aaron's at the helm. Two, he's been building this story in Thor now for like the past couple of years. So kind of like what Jonathan Hickman did in all the build-up to Secret War, which I also enjoyed, this may be more than just another throwaway big crossover event. Because if Aaron's at the helm and the great Russell Dauterman, his partner on Thor, often is penciling it, this may be worth people's shekels in time.
Yeah.
What he's been doing in Thor, basically Malekith has been leading an invasion of all the other realms, and he's been wreaking havoc and like the Jane Foster, the female Thor, was fighting him, and now it's the Odin son. It's been magnificent. I mean, Aaron's run on Thor is a classic as far as I'm concerned. So if he's taking this to its culmination, this might be worth – again, I'm going to definitely read this because pretty much Jason Aaron has yet to disappoint me from the classic Vietnam story Other Side years ago through his masterpiece Scalped to his Marvel stuff. His new Conan book is awesome. His Image series, The Goddamned, like he's a great writer, and he's definitely clearly Marvel's go-to guy right now. So, and honestly, a lot of the Marvel previews is War of the Realms offshoots, none of which I'll be reading. But, that's like the first, like 20 pages is War of the Realms tie-ins. So.
Well, one that I know I'll be buying, even though I'm planning on skipping the event as a whole, is Avengers number 18.
I was just thinking about that.
Yep. Yeah, Chris, everything you've been saying about this run of Avengers by Aaron and Ed McGuinness, it is
so good.
It's one of the most what word am I looking for here? It's one of the purest, most intense doses of everything that is good about Marvel Comics action.
Well put, Murd.
Yes, just that you can look forward to every month. And it's this issue number 18. Although it's a War of the Realms tie-in, it's also a Squadron Supreme.
Squadron Supreme. There's is it Nighthawk?
Yes, Nighthawk, Power Princess, Hyperion, and the Whizzer are the characters we see.
And look at that variant cover by Alex Ross. God,
gorgeous.
Yep.
Looks like Avengers versus Mandroids there.
Yep. Yeah. No. The Aaron run on Avengers has been tremendous. I can't recommend it enough. Now I'm on page 30, so Thanos is getting a new miniseries.
Yep. Thanos is technically dead in current continuity. So, but that's not going to last. I mean, it's Thanos dying is a little bit like his moving back in with his ex. It's a bad idea and it's destined to fail.
He got better.
So yeah, this miniseries is going to be set in the past, and it's going to explore his relationship with Gamora and how he raised her to become the deadliest woman in the galaxy.
Beautiful art by Ariel Olivetti. I always love a good Thanos yarn. I have to comment on page 32, and I'm not going to get too. I'm not going to get too. Murd, I'm also losing the ability to speak. It's getting late for me, but I'm not going to take too many cheap shots here. Let's put it that way. So it's a new Rob Liefeld property. All I'll say is, I guess in a weird way, it's reassuring that some things never change. And let's leave it at that, shall we?
With that in mind, coming to a comic shop near you, May of 2025.
Can we comment on Avengers: Edge of Infinity #1 by Ralph Macchio?
As in the great editor Ralph Macchio?
Yeah.
Or where is that?
It ain't the Great Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
That's on page 28, I believe, because they're great with numbering. But this looks like it's going to be a MODOK book with Andrea DeVito art with a cover by Todd Nauck.
Todd Nauck. Yep.
Yeah. Captain America, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Captain Marvel. The Carol Danvers Captain Marvel look to be the team dealing with MODOK in this particular issue, but that has me intrigued.
Well, Macchio's, he's a great veteran. I mean, man, he's been around in comics now. Holy mackerel!
Yep.
I remember, him editing books in the '80s when I was a kid. Like he edited Born Again. Like the guy is he's no slouch.
Oh, please, yeah.
So I wanted to do a very important shout out on page 43. I just read Invaders #1. Let me tell you something. Chip Zdarsky is like the secret weapon of comic book writers right now. I love the guy's artwork, from Sex Criminals, but man, can this guy write? I mean, I've been reading the Marvel 2 and 1 for the past year or so, but Murd, you got to read this book. You will love this book because
I will read this book.
He digs deep into Marvel history, and the reference he has. The first issue was so thrilling, and he's really going very much into Namor and his past. And as you can see in issue 4, they're going to go through the whole history of Namor, and kind of like a secret history. the first issue, it's one of those moments where I'm like, God, this makes me still love reading comics. Like I was so Jones reading this issue. It was so well done. Highest recommendation, Invaders #1. I emailed DCB Service immediately. I said, please add 2 and 3 to my order because I hadn't ordered 2 and 3.
Excellent.
And I don't do that with most books. Sometimes I'll try a book like, all right, it was fun, but I'm not going to keep getting it. This, I'm getting the whole damn thing as long as he's writing it. Okay. Go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
It's a couple of pages earlier, so I just wanted to touch on this before you continue, Chris. But Symbiote Spider-Man #1 of 5.
Knew it.
5-issue miniseries. Writer Peter David. Art Greg Land. So less good. But this appears to be a Untold Tales of Spider-Man-esque miniseries taking place during the symbiote days of Spider-Man, when he was wearing the black costume and didn't know it was Venom, before he knew it was a symbiote. So it's taking place during that time, basically filling in the gaps of the Black Suit Saga.
Where are you? What page is that? I'm sorry.
It's a couple of pages before.
35. I got it. Peter David.
Yeah, 35. Yep.
And wouldn't you know, it's a Mysterio story, just in time for Spider-Man Far From Home.
Say what?
We should also point out that Marvel Team Up is returning on page 40.
Yes.
So that's such a great concept, a favorite of Merd's.
It is. Though it's sounding like this one's going to be more arc-oriented. Like it's not going to be a single team-up per issue. It's like one-and-done team-up stories. So I'm less jazzed about that.
But here's what I'm jazzed for. Gentlemen, please do me the honor of turning to page 51.
All right.
Okay. I was raving last month about how excited I am for the Zdarsky, Mark Bagley, which I already know is going to be great, Spider-Man life story. So if you didn't hear last month's episode, faithful listeners, Zdarsky is doing a miniseries where what if Spider-Man actually lived in real time from when he gets his powers in the 60s through the decades. Now, we're in the 70s. So the 60s cover had Spidey hanging onto Hueys, no doubt in Vietnam or something similar, along those lines. So he's holding by his web a Green Goblin jack-o'-lantern cast as a disco ball. And I'll read the copy. The Green Goblin's out of their lives, tantalizing, but Norman Osborn isn't. Can Peter and Gwen find happiness? The world of the 1970s dances on around them.
Oh wow!
Okay, I'm gonna make this is out of my rectum, pie in the sky prediction. This is gonna be one of the best comics of 2019. I have no basis for that at all, but none. But my school's calling. I bet I don't have school tomorrow. We'll check that later. But I got a feeling because I've been waiting for like a transformative Spider-Man story for quite some time. And this could be it. So, sign me up.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Oh, I believe we're unanimous there too. Speaking of Spider-Man,
go ahead, Bert.
Just a quick note here on page 37: The Amazing Spider-Man number 18.hu. Ugh. Playing fast and loose with the numbering again to accommodate the latest crossover. Apparently it's called Hunted. It's a Kraven-centric story, Kraven rounding up animal-themed Marvel characters. It's not the first time Kraven has done this. It's not even the first time in the past 10 years he's done this. But what the hell? Number 18HU features Spidey and the Gibbon.
Oh, Merd. One of your favorites.
Art by Chris Bachalo, actually.
Ooh.
Yes, ditto Amazing Spider-Man number 19.hu on the next page, which features the Lizard. So if you want to see Bachalo drawing either of those classic Spider-Man villains, there they are. I've always been kind of fond of the Gibbon. It remains to be seen whether I'm fond enough of him to want to wade into this silly and somewhat redundant crossover just to read about him. But it's just cool that there's a high-profile Gibbon appearance coming out this month. Had to mention it.
I knew you would, Merd. I was counting on it. Gentlemen, I'm going to shout a couple more things, and I have to depart. I apologize.
No problem.
But I wanted to mention a few more Marvel things, and I'll mention a couple quick things in the other part of the book, then I'll leave the rest in your more than capable hands. But
all right.
I wanted to point out, I'm also pleased to see, and again, I haven't read issue 1 yet, but they also have Chip Zdarsky writing Daredevil. and that's on page 66. So I haven't been reading Daredevil since Wade left. Charles Soule's a good writer, but I just didn't stay with the title. Again, really time more than anything else. But I ordered issue 1 because I'm so just impressed with the Zdarsky scripting that I'm really looking forward to checking this out. And it looks like the Punisher is going to be in it, based on that image.
Yeah, right.
So, also wanted to point out, please, gentlemen, do the honor of turning to page 73, and you should be palpitating once you see the image.
Ooh, yes.
And I'm there.
All that matters is the team.
Whoa.
It's Wade and Kitson doing Doctor Strange, and Stevens hoisting above his head the helm of Galactus. It's enough. You just sounded like you just took a massive hit of some kind of psychotropic substance when you saw that image.
Which
It's called Eberlian enthusiasm.
Yes, with art by Kitson and writing by Wade. Yeah, that's about what it feels like.
Oh, I love these men. Fantastic. Page 89. Again, I mentioned briefly just how good Conan is, right? I've always been a Conan fan, read him periodically over the years. I love the Brian Wood Conan that Dark Horse did, the creepy use of Conan. Now Aaron's sinking his very capable teeth into the property. It's been awesome so far. Like, he just gets Conan. If you love Conan, you've been Jones for Conan, just go out and get the first 2 issues. You won't be disappointed. So just tremendous. I apologize. I'm hogging a bit here, Jim. I just got to move on. I apologize for that.
Not a problem.
Page 95, a new Star Wars kind of sounds interesting, written by Jody Houser, TIE Fighter. I love stories that give you the Imperial perspective. I think back to the classic Dark Horse series, Empire. They did some years ago. But this is looking at the conflict of the perspective of a TIE Fighter pilot. Definitely checking that out. Now, page 98. Star Wars Age of Rebellion. So every previews they've done a host of stories dedicated to a certain period of Star Wars history. This is the one I'm waiting for because it's the original films, The Rebellion. And look at the creative teams on this.
Oh, wow.
Murd, Princess Leia, Greg Pak, and Chris Faust drawing.
Oh,
wow.
Yes. In like Flynn, my friend.
That's exciting.
Grand Moff Tarkin, Greg Pak, and Mark Laming. Like, wow.
And Dotson covers. That looks so exciting. So I'm going to be all over that, without question. That's great stuff right there. I'm going to jump to a couple more things, and then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands, gentlemen, if I may. I just want to point out a couple quick things in the rest of the book. Okay, let me see here. Here we go. So I've praised this before, but I really want to emphasize again. On page, I'm in Dynamite now. On page 186, the James Bond comics. So I'm a huge Bond fan, and everything they've done with this property has been gold. No pun intended there. And Greg Pak, the story he's doing right now, he's introduced the new Odd Job. It's so damn fun. I can't recommend it enough. And James Bond Origin, so Bond sort of coming into his own in World War II as he's recruited as a young espionage agent. Jeff Parker, who's done great work like on Flash Gordon and other properties like that, also outstanding. I can't recommend. If you're a James Bond fan, and a few nights ago I indulged in my favorite James Bond movie, which is the Daniel Craig Casino Royale. Very excited that he's doing one more installment of the 25th Bond film. He's my favorite James Bond, quite frankly. And I've seen them all, but for me, he's just the best. And I want to put jumping into Tomorrows. I always have to do my Tomorrow shout out every month. This is especially exciting. They haven't done one of these in a while on page 373. A New American Comic Book Chronicles. So Tomorrow's done a series of these hardcover editions over the past several years where an expert comes and they do an entire history of a particular era in the American comic book, and they tie it into what's going on in the country around them at that time. These books are phenomenal. This is 1940 to 1944. So this is a golden age. Kurt Mitchell and editor Roy Thomas. That's enough. It's going to be great. I mean, come on, they're going to go into so many important moments in the golden age. We got Eisner, Iger, Chesler, Kirby, Novick. I mean, come on. But if you love the history, get all of these books because they're all outstanding. They're beautifully illustrated, and they go into such detail on the characters, the concepts, the creators, and they put them in the context of what's going on in the country at the time. Highest recommendation. So that'll be in my order as well. Gentlemen, I apologize I must depart.
Not a problem.
No,
But-
we understand, Chris.
I look forward to seeing you both at our winter retreat in the very near future.
Soon and very soon.
Yes.
Here, here.
And Ian, I got to tell you, man, you're getting more snuggly by the moment. Got him.
I'll get by the fire right now.
I'm glad you're with us, brother. All right, my friends, have a good night. Have a cozy night. It sounds like it's going to be pretty tempestuous tomorrow with the weather. And we will talk to you both very soon.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Good night,
So long,
gentlemen.
Chris.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. So,
Exit a legend.
Indeed. You got anything else in Marvel?
Probably. I'm kind of doing a rapid page flip here through the pages that Chris skipped over.
Not a problem. While you're looking for that, I'll point out issue 3 of Wolverine Infinity Watch has Darkhawk on the cover, and I think that's enough for anybody who was born in the 90s.
Right. Yeah, somebody call our friend Raph.
Yes, indeed.
The biggest Darkhawk apologists either of us knows.
He has 3 bone claws on each hand, Darkhawk, for some reason. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like him embodying Wolverine or something else, but this is going to be interesting. Gary Duggan writing that. Going back here. Let's see. There's a new artist on Runaways, so I think that may have happened a month or two ago. But Chris Anka has left the title. He's doing a story over at DC for the first time, and I think he's basically just going to be doing freelance stuff, nothing official until his next project is announced. But Andres Genolet or Genolet is going to be taking over on art for issue 20 here of the run, and Rainbow Rowell remains the writer. Scrolling. Back.
Yeah, I've gotten as far as the Star Wars comics Chris was talking about. The Princess Leia one-shot is about how Princess Leia constructed her identity of Boushh the Bounty Hunter. To go rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. And she has to prove her mettle against the actual bounty hunter, Bosk. So, that's further inducement for me to pick up that one-shot, as if I wouldn't just based on the creative team. Let's see. In the collected editions, Marvel's 80th anniversary Fun and Frolics continues. Pages 112, 113, and 115. So a reprinting of looks like Marvel Comics number 1 and the 2nd through 12th issues of Marvel Mystery Comics, which is what Marvel Comics the series became after issue number 1.
Yep.
So it's a bunch of classic Golden Age Human Torch and Namor stories plus other features.
Nice. Way back when we're still talking about singles here. Fantastic Four number 9 on page 63. I wanted to point out What Price Victory, the conclusion of the first Doctor Doom arc of that series with issue 9. One cruel act will forever change the relationship between the Fantastic Four and Victor Von Doom.
Yes, but whose cruel act will it be?
Exactly.
It might not even be Doctor Doom.
Maybe it's Valeria. I don't know. Who knows?
It's a possibility.
You never know.
All right, page 115. We've got another Marvel, like Golden Age Marvel Comics related hardcover. It's an 80th anniversary hardcover, reprinting material from the original Marvel Comics #1 again. Marvel's #0. The Saga of the Original Human Torch #1. That was a miniseries kind of retelling and filling in gaps in the history of the original Human Torch that Marvel published decades ago.
Okay.
And also some stuff from the 70th anniversary Marvel Comics edition. So, that's going on. There's a monster-sized hardcover reprinting of the Marvel's miniseries, as we're now coming into the 25th anniversary of that series' publication.
Wow.
That's on page 116. It's enough to make one feel old, even.
Time flies. Time flies. You saw that they're doing a Kirby Returns king size.
A Kirby Returns king size?
That's what it says. Kirby Returns king size hardcover. Written by Jack Kirby, penciled by Jack Kirby, covered by Jack Kirby.
First base, Jack Kirby. Second base, Jack Kirby.
Third base. I don't know. Captain America 208 to 212, Black Panther 1 through 3 from 1977. So that's the fun Black Panther. Machine Man 1 through 6 and Devil Dinosaur 4 through 7.
Right. Celebrating Jack's second residency at Mighty Marvel.
Yes.
Let's see, more 80th anniversary happenings. On page 124, 125, the collection of decades trade paperbacks. We've gotten up to the 80s here.
Okay.
And so we've got Grey Hulk, we've got Simonson Armored Thor, we've got Red and Silver Iron Man, we've got Steve Rogers as the Captain. Some of the less memorable permutations of Marvel characters in the 80s, but they're collected here, 240 pages worth.
Grey Hulk I've always had a fondness for. That Thor outfit has never really struck it great for me.
Yeah, nor with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the return to Grey Hulk was an interesting move, and it was, of course, masterminded by Peter David. So
Yep. Mr. Fix-It.
Let's see.
They have the first collection of Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, which she's I think that's what she's going by now is Ghost Spider, or
Right.
which I guess makes sense because why would she give away her name to everybody?
True. Plus, there's so many other spider people hanging around. I guess this is the first volume of her adventures on Earth 616, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. No. Actually, it still says the Spider-Woman of Earth 65. So I'm not sure if she's on 616. I think she might still be back in her home.
Oh yeah, it does say picking up right where she left off, fighting crime in her home reality.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's all right. I guess she. Well, then, yeah, the name change really would have made more sense if she were using it in a reality other than her own, where there are other spider-powered people swinging around.
Agreed.
You'd think when she goes home to Earth 65, she could just be Spider-Woman again, but licensing is what licensing is.
Oh boy, look at the cover for Tony Stark Iron Man Volume 2, and how gorgeous that is. It's on page 131.
Right. Demon in a shot glass.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's a striking image as Tony drowns in a shot glass of whiskey. It's that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. All right. Let's see. Page 140. Greatest team of villains Spider-Man's ever gone up against is getting some of their classic stories reprinted. Their first appearance from Amazing Spider-Man Annual Number 1, and the Revenge of the Sinister Six story from Amazing Spider-Man number 334 through 339.
Nice.
From the very early 90s. So we've got Stan and Steve Ditko and David Michelinie and Eric Larson. Spider-Man Sinister Six.
All right.
And then some fairly random Kree Empire-centric cosmic Marvel stories in the Captain Marvel Star Force trade paperback. That's on page 141. A sampling of Kree delights from several decades.
Do you know what Star Comics Planet Terry is?
Well, yes, actually, it's a children's series that came out through the all ages imprint Star Comics back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. It has a definite Harvey Comics flair to it. Actually, another Star series called Royal Roy about a young prince who looked an awful lot like Richie Rich actually had to be canceled.
Oh, wow.
Because a cease and desist order was sent by Harvey Comics because of its extreme similarity to Richie Rich. Planet Terry was a little bit luckier, though. It got a full 12-issue run. And all 12 of those issues are being reprinted in trade paperback this month. That's on page 142. It's the adventures of a young interplanetary explorer named Terry. It's written by Lenny Herman, who was a long-standing creator at Harvey Comics.
Sounds like an animated series in the making right there.
Kind of, yeah. Well, did you remember a show called Fantastic Max?
Vaguely.
It was a part of the Funtastic world of Hanna-Barbera.
Okay.
Used to be on Sunday mornings in my area. Which gives you an idea that it wasn't exactly, high profile. That's kind of the TV ghetto for animated series.
Oh, God. I just looked up an image. Yeah, no, I definitely remember randomly seeing that while flipping through the channels.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, in concept, fairly close to Planet Terry, I'd say.
Got it.
Let's see.
Got some more Spider-Man stuff in Epic Collection. On page 145, Assassin Nation, volume number 19 of the Epic Collections, written by David Michelinie, Jerry Conway, and others, with pencils by McFarlane, Larson, Liefeld, Alex Saviuk, and a bunch of others as well. A lot of issues in this. Amazing Spider-Man 311 to 325, Annual 23, and the entire Marvel graphic novel Amazing Spider-Man Parallel Lives. So that's a big one right there.
Yep, that's nearly 500 pages.
Yep.
And I've come across quite a few. Well, in the early days of collecting, I came across a lot of unwanted back issues of Assassin Nation crossovers. So it's kind of odd coming across it as a trade paperback now. But Amazing Spider-Man issues from that era are. I don't think I've come across them that often in back issue bins lately. So maybe there's a demand has developed for them.
McFarlane fever is coming back, clearly.
Could be.
Yep.
All right. I think I've said my piece about Marvel, Ian. How about you?
All right, I'll say one more, and then I think we're done. Just because, whenever I see the words "Behold Galactus," I have to say it. And this is a reprinting of the famous "Behold Galactus" saga from Stan, written by Stan Lee and John Byrne, penciled by Jack Kirby, John Buscema, and John Byrne. Because they're jumping all over the place here with issues. It's Fantastic Four 48 through 50, and then we go up to 120 to 123, and then we go up to 242 through 244. So you are getting some of the best Galactus you can possibly get out of Marvel Comics.
Yeah, I'm sure Jamie D would agree with that.
Hear, hear. Now I think we're done with Marvel.
All right. All right, then let's quest onward to the back of the book.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which begins these days with Dynamite. I keep forgetting that.
I got a Dynamite. And I don't know if this is actually really their end or not, but Kiss the End, #1.
Ooh.
On page 180, writer Amy Chu and artist Edu Mena are bringing this forward. And some of the Kiss comics have actually been pretty decent over the years. I know that there was one that had Jamal Igle art a couple of years back that I read, and that was actually surprisingly readable. I think that's the best way that I could put it.
Nice.
And here, you know, that it's coinciding with Kiss's final tour, and maybe this will be the last Kiss comics we see, or maybe not. We'll have to find out.
My money's on not, but at least
Probably.
it'll be the last one we see this year.
Exactly.
Let's see. Page 176, Dynamite is giving us a Xena Warrior Princess comic.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep, creative team unknown to me, Vita Ayala and Olympia Sweetman. But the first issue is 50% off at dcbservice.com.
Now, is this supposed to continue the series, or is this a reboot? That's the question. They don't really say, do they?
Yeah, nope, just scanning the copy that they have here. I don't think we were being told where in the timeline or the continuity this is going to be taking place.
I was a big Xena guy back in the day, so if it's a continuation from where they left off, I might be interested. If it's a reboot, I don't know.
Yeah.
Betty Page Unbound #1. Let's see.
I don't know if that's better or worse than Betty Page Bound #1.
Yeah, good question. But it exists.
I don't think I have any other Dynamite to mention.
Yeah, I think I'm okay because I'm not really that interested in Elvira, so I think we're moving on.
Nor I, sir, nor I.
All right.
Let's see. I guess Boom Studios will be next up.
Boom. Ready. Get there. Oh, here we go. Actually, there's one more in Dynamite. I promise.
All
one
right.
more. Page 193. Just because the new John Wick movie is coming soon, and I am a huge fan of John Wick. And this is Volume 1 hardcover of issues 1 through 5 of the John Wick comic series written by Greg Pak with art by Giovanni Valletta and Matt Gaudio. So this is a side series of John Wick, and anything involving the character I am interested in, because damn, those movies are fun.
And it helps when it's written by someone who knows how to write.
Yes. Greg Pak most definitely does.
He sure does.
All right.
Okay, so now Boom.
Now Boom.
Now Boom. All right. Brian Azzarello fans. Page 204 and 205, there's a new 5-issue miniseries from him and artist Maria Lovett called Faithless. And it appears to have to do with, sorcery and possibly lesbian erotism.
Yes.
So, but Brian Azzarello is writing it, so it's probably going to be compelling.
An erotic depiction of faith, sex, and the devil in the tradition of the Divine Comedy.
Huh.
Well, it certainly looks interesting. I mean, to be fully honest, I'm hot and cold on Azzarello, so I'd have to first hear what other people think about it before I give it a shot. But the art does look pretty.
More than fair. I noticed that Divine Comedy is not capitalized, so I'm not sure if we're talking about Dante's Divine Comedy, specifically Inferno, Purgatorio, Paradiso, or if it's just Divine Comedy as a story form.
Yeah. Good point. I'm sure.
All right. Also from Boom, pages 208 and 209,
Yep.
another one of these Jim Henson's The Storyteller miniseries. And these are usually interesting. They're compendia of actual stories from world folklore around a central type of character. We've had storyteller miniseries about dragons and witches and the like, and now it's Sirens' turn. Mermaids and their kin, basically water-dwelling, often alluring beings. And this first issue is dealing with the Polish folktale of the Fisherman and the Mermaid, written and drawn by an all-Polish creative team.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that is 50% off at dcbservice.com.
Always happy to see the Archaea imprint, too, considering you see it less and less these days.
Right. It's just becoming slowly digested by Boom Studios, as much as Top Shelf has been by IDW, for that matter.
Yep. So I have to talk about what's on page 210 because it's on brand for me in many ways.
Say on, child of the 90s, say on.
All right. Rocko's Modern Afterlife #1. Now, not only am I interested in this because it's Rocko's Modern Life, and for those of you unaware, there is going to be Return to Rocko's Modern Life airing on Nickelodeon in the very near future. I believe it is a movie. And it will be continuing the Rocko story, basically, bringing him into today's world. And it's by all the original creators that they could get back together. And I'm looking for the actual release date right now, but there's at least a trailer out there that was released around the time of San Diego Comic-Con last year. But it's Rocko's Modern Life: Static Cling is the name of the movie. And I cannot wait because it's been a long, long time since we've got to see anything from it. Now, not only am I interested in it because of that, but the writer of this. The writer is Anthony Birch. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Anthony Birch, I've been following this guy's career for years, originally on YouTube, because he is one of the co-stars of the YouTube channel Hey Ash, What You Playin', where him and his sister Ashley Birch, who has since become a prolific voice actor and also was a co-writer for a couple of the last couple of series of Adventure Time on TV, would put together these silly skits about video games. Like, basically, he would walk in, say, "Hey, Ash, what you playing?" She'd say a video game, and then it would go from there. Very, very funny. Go check them out on YouTube. There are tons of them, and they still do at least like 2 or 3 of them a year, usually sponsored. He also wrote the second Borderlands game, for any of you who are familiar with the Borderlands video games. And here he is writing a comic, and it's about Rocko. So I could not be more thrilled. They literally wrote this for me.
Wow. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is yet another example of the knowledge that you're bringing to your appearances on this podcast, Ian, that no one else possibly could.
I will take that as 100% the compliment that you mean it to be. And
I do indeed mean it as such, Ian.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for sharing all of that, because I sure as hell knew none of it.
Yep. And the preview artwork for this looks like it's right on style with Rocko, and I cannot wait. This is going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
As a sidebar of personal interest to me, Ian, you said that Ashley Birch is a prolific voiceover actor?
She is, actually.
What are some of the things she's done?
So she's worked in video games as well, but she's also worked on Adventure Time. She has provided some voice work for... Have you ever watched Bee and Puppycat?
I own several issues of the comic tie-in that Boom did a while ago, but I've never actually seen the show.
Got it. Well, she is a voice actor on that as well. She's worked on Attack on Titan. She's a voice on that. And she's basically her... both as an actor and as a voice actress, she's been more around. She also played the Ruddle twins on Steven Universe. That was the conjoined twin gem in the last season of the show.
Which I have not yet seen.
Okay. Well, when you get to it and you find them, it's a very distinct character model. It's basically like conjoined twin gems.
Right.
Absolutely her. So
You've told me what I need to know.
Indeed. Yep. And yeah, that's basically what she's been around for. Random voices in Final Fantasy 2, and like I think she played April O'Neil in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game as well. So there you go.
All right. Thank you for enlightening me there.
You are welcome.
Okay. Any more booms to drop here?
Let's see. Yeah, a lot of series continuing here, so not a lot of first issues to talk about. Nothing offhand. The soft cover of the Thrilling Adventure Hour Residence Evil is coming out, so I will mention that on page 215. Ben Acker and Ben Blacker are the writers of this, and MJ Erickson is the illustrator. Thrilling Adventure Hour is a pretty popular podcast series, and this is their venture into the world of comic books.
Yeah, this wasn't always being published through Boom, was it?
No, I think it may have been. I think it started as a Kickstarter, actually.
Oh.
And then they may have done it independently, and now through Boom, if memory serves, or it could have been somewhere else. Who the hell knows?
Oh, who can keep track?
Exactly.
Are we ready for the rest of the book?
Yeah, I think so.
And it is my pleasure to give a mention to a publication from our friends at Action Lab Entertainment here. Page 236. We've got the second volume of a series called Spencer and Locke. Right, now this this is the second volume. The first volume came out 2 years ago. The high concept here is basically the Sunday Funnies meets Sin City. Right, the two main characters, Spencer and Locke, they're what Calvin and Hobbes would be if they had grown up in like a hard-boiled crime noir world. They've grown up so that the Locke, a.k.a. Calvin, he's a police detective on the edge, and he's got a 6-foot-tall imaginary panther named Spencer as a partner. And so they had their adventure in the first volume, and now they're back. And I was contacted by the creator of this, David Pipose, a little while ago, and he assures me that they're going to go, as he puts it, full fables on this second volume. So we're going to be seeing lots more familiar faces from the funny pages showing up. In the first issue, Spencer and Locke have to take down a demented sniper who is named Roach Riley, who is kind of what David calls a Heath Ledger take on Beetle Bailey, with more than a touch of PTSD. He's haunted by the ghost of his deceased commanding officer, the Major, who is supposed to be a takeoff on Starch Snorkel from the classic Mort Walker strip, and who is driving him to commit random acts of murder throughout the city. And Spencer and Locke have to take him down. And that's just the first of what promises to be several cameos by familiar analogs of well-known comic strip characters here. So it's hard-boiled crime noir. It's police action drama. It's not all ages fair. I mean, just because these characters are based on comic strip characters, do not give this to your kids. I've seen the first issue. The creators don't pull any punches. I mean, the violence isn't too excessive, but it's strong enough to have an impact. This is not just Calvin and Hobbes playing detective. This is a full-grown adult, hard-boiled police action thing that just happens to star adult analogs of Calvin and Hobbes. I mean, it's well done. I do recommend it, but just not for the little ones.
All right. I see there's some more Princeless stuff as well out of Action Lab involving the sister of the regular Princeless character, if I'm looking at this correctly. Explore the stories of Princess Adrian, this one's going to follow. And right there on page 234, Jeremy Whitley has some more Princeless stories to go forward. I did enjoy some of the previous ones that he put out, and now this is, I guess, keeping it in the family and learning about another one of the princesses in the family. So issues 1 and 2 are solicited here in this month's previews.
All right. More props to Jeremy Whitley.
Yes. Let's see here. Well, this looks interesting. I mean, they couldn't make a bigger ad for it if they tried, but on page 240, The Replacer. It's a prestige format graphic novella set in the 1990s. The Berrahill family has tragedy in the form of a debilitating stroke, and the youngest child in the family is convinced his paralyzed father didn't truly fall ill, but is possessed by something sinister. It's based on Zach Thompson's true story of coming to terms with a disabled parent. 64-page novella. And as I stated, Zach Thompson is the writer, and Arjuna Suzini is the artist, with D. Cunniff as the colorist. So you can give that a shot. $7.99 is the regular price, and it's on sale on April 24th, so I'm sure it's a little bit cheaper on DCBS.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, it sounds a little bit in concept like Joe Kelly's I Kill Giants.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually, and that is easily one of my favorite comics, and the movie was very good too. If you ever got a chance to see that,
I didn't even know a movie had been made.
Yeah,
is it animated?
No, actually, it's live action. And I was just as surprised as you are, because I would have expected that to be something that would be easier done as an animated, but it was a very compelling live action movie. It came out last year, if memory serves. Had a very limited release in theaters and then went to on demand.
Okay.
Yeah, but you should be able to find the DVD pretty easy enough. And Imogen Poots was in it, and Zoe Saldana.
All right. Sans green body paint, I assume.
Yes. No green body paint this time. The discount is $5.19, so a 35% discount on DCBS.
Let's see. Something else sort of new coming out through Aftershock. Mary Shelley Monster Hunter, #1. Pages 242 and 243. Telling us that Mary Shelley's conception of the Frankenstein's monster was based in part on personal experience. So a little more revisionist history from Adam Glass, the writer who brought you Rough Riders, co-writing with Olivia Briggs, art by Hayden Sherman.
I don't know if you saw the Drunk History episode about Mary Shelley telling her story of Frankenstein, but it was absolutely perfect.
I wanted to, but I ended up missing it. It'll be rerun endless times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That was the season premiere.
Yes, and I especially love that they called it "Are You Afraid of the Drunk?" and did a parody of "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" at the beginning.
Yes, more Nick in the 90s.
Yes. Let's see.
Okay. See, on page 252, Ahoy Comics, the publisher that gave us The Wrong Earth by Tom Pyre and Jamal Igle. They're coming back for their second wave of titles this month. And on page 252, a previews featured item, the first issue of Bronze Age Boogie, written by Stuart Moore with art by Alberto Ponticelli, which is apparently it's a genetic cocktail of, quote, all the best-loved genres of the 1970s. Apes, monsters, kung fu, sword and sorcery, and cosmic adventure, mixed together into Bronze Age Boogie, an intense character-based action fest with plenty of style. So, yeah, I think I'm going to buy that, Ian.
That sounds really cool. So does the one right underneath it, by the way, by Ahoy. Planet of the Nerds #1.
Yes. Striking a little close to home, if anything. 3 high school jocks are cryogenically frozen in the 1980s and awaken to the world of the late 20-teens where everything is run by nerds.
I want to see that movie. That's all I'll say.
Well, you may yet, Ian. You may yet.
Exactly.
That's probably what its creators originally intended for it to be.
More than likely. You see, you see Alterna Comics, Mighty Mascots #1?
I was just about to bring that up.
There you go. So wax poetic.
All right. So, yeah, this is from the Alterna Comics Company, which they're kind of gaining some grassroots support because they're producing full-length 32-page comics at the standard cover price of $1.50. They're printed on lesser quality paper, more than newsprint that the major publishers used to use back in the early 90s and earlier, which is just fine by me. This reasonably priced first issue of this 3-issue miniseries, Mighty Mascots, tells the story of a bunch of advertising mascots who band together to fight for the future of grocery shopping as we know it. Yeah, so I can see a character that's pretty clearly supposed to be an analog for like Captain Crunch.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of a pirate character, and a few others that are. And Toucan Sam is kind of down there to the lower right. The others are a little less easy to place without having any kind of context. But the high concept is it's thinly veiled versions of well-known advertising mascots forming a super team.
Now with 100% justice.
New and improved.
Yes.
Yep, sounds like a good time to me. I've actually never bought an Alterna comic before, but the company has come highly recommended to me, and so I'm going to give this issue a try.
Well, if you do, let me know how it goes. We got more Zorro comics. I see Zorro Sacrilege #4 and Zorro Legendary Adventures Book 2 #3.
Coming out through American Mythology.
Yep.
Wow. American Mythology is also publishing some Laurel and Hardy comics.
I saw that, yeah. I certainly did not see that coming.
No. You don't get that every month these days.
No, we do not.
But since we are seeing a Laurel and Hardy movie coming to theaters, starring John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
This is as good a time as any.
Yeah, Steve Coogan's in that, too.
Yep, it's mentioned right here in the copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and apparently this is going to be original material, not a reprint of earlier Laurel and Hardy comics.
30 years it's been since the last Laurel and Hardy comics.
Wow.
How about it?
Yeah, that's tempting just for the novelty alone.
Yeah.
And also the usual panoply of Casper the Friendly Ghost, Underdog, and Pink Panther comics. The bread and butter here at American Mythology.
Well,
throw in some Three Stooges, and I think they'll have all the major bases covered.
I feel like Pants should be told about American Mythology Archives Underdog #1. The impossible to find Charlton Comics' first ever issue of Underdog is being reprinted for the first time.
Huh.
32 pages, and looks like they're doing a limited edition version of it that looks like it's straight off the TV.
Yeah, that might strike his fancy.
Yep. Underdog.
There's no need to fear. Yeah, looks like nothing interesting me through Archie this month.
Yeah, I'm taking a look right now.
I see on page 268 under Aspen Comics, the frustratingly infrequently published Zoo Hunters miniseries is once again picking up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's Now, it's this thing has been ongoing for, it feels like, about 5 years now. Written and drawn by Peter Steigerwald. It's the story of a father-daughter team of rare creature hunters who travel the galaxy capturing rare beasts. Yeah, it's a good concept. You know, I was on board for it at the beginning, and I've been a little annoyed at how long it's taken to get to this point. But all the same, I will pick up issue 4, assuming it actually, arrives in stores as promised.
I did find one thing in Archie on page 266. Just wanted to point out Little Archie's Lucky Day, based on a story by Art and Franco. Because whenever I can mention an Art and Franco book, I will.
All right. Looks like the final product was put together by Balthazar himself.
Yep. Yes, indeed. 32 pages of Little Archie fun.
See, page 303. Something that may be of interest from Fantagraphics Books. The Complete Life and Times of Uncle Scrooge, Volume 1.
Oh, wow.
All right, so this is Volume 1 of 2. Okay, so the first half of a comprehensive 2-volume set. Okay, so we're going to get some Carl Barks and some Don Rosa, it looks like. It's not very forthcoming as far as telling you exactly what stories are going to be included in this first volume of 2, but it's going to be 248 pages worth of indisputably classic seminal Duck comics. So that's something I probably ought to be paying attention to, because Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge comics were a part of my formative years. So my prehistory as a comics fan, because I did have such a volume, like a supersized hardcover collection of like the best of Duck comics that I read years before I ever got into collecting comics seriously. So you'll see what the content packagers at Fantagraphics think make the most important beats in Uncle Scrooge's early career.
The power is theirs. I see on page 292, I Was Their American Dream. I Was Their American Dream, a graphic memoir, is a triumphant tale of self-discovery, a celebration of a family's rich heritage, and a love letter to American immigrant freedom. So, it looks like a... Oh, I mean, there's a decent amount of indie stories of this ilk out there, but I like the style of the art, and if you're looking for a little bit of an inspiring story, then this is probably going to be right up your alley. 160 pages, regular price is $16.99, so I'm sure it'll at least be 30-35% off on DCBS.
Quite likely.
In fact, it is $11.89 on DCBS for 30% off.
There you go.
Haha. Thank you, Internet, for telling me things.
Yeah, the Internet's good for that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, here's one thing that I'm fairly excited about. I'm maybe the only one either in this discussion or among those who will ultimately listen to this discussion who are going to be as excited about this as I am. But on page 350, this is coming out through Jim Salicrup's Paper Cuts. Volume 6 of the comic book adventures of the cast of what is my current favorite cartoon on television, The Loud House. This has been a recent obsession of mine. I just kind of discovered it this past fall. It's on Nickelodeon a lot. It's pretty popular these days. It's the adventures of the Loud family. Especially Lincoln Loud. He's the central character. He's the middle child and only boy in a family of 11 kids.
Wow.
And it's kind of semi-autobiographical because it's based on the childhood misadventures of animator Chris Savino, who took over from Gendy Tartakovsky on Dexter's Lab back in the 90s.
Oh, cool.
And so this was an original creation of his that he brought to Nickelodeon. He was ousted from the show under allegations of misconduct a little while ago, which is unfortunate. But it's kind of based on his experiences in a huge family with many, many sisters. And so it's It's fun chaos, very much in the vein of classic American comic strips. Peanuts is kind of a strong influence. And so it's Lincoln Loud and his the crazy variety of personalities that exist in his family under one roof. This is the 6th volume of Loud House Comics, written and drawn by people who work on the actual show that Paper Guts has published. Volume 5 was interesting because it's the first one to tell pretty much a single story in multiple installments by multiple creators. But it was the story of a single night in the Loud House, like an impromptu slumber party that the Loud kids have. So here's Volume 6, which is probably going to be a return to the anthology format that the other preceding 4 volumes featured. So yeah, I really enjoy the cartoon show, and I'm just very happy to see that this additional content continue to roll off the presses from Paper Cuts.
Yeah, no, I've never watched it. I'll have to give it a shot at some point.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you reminded me as we were flipping through way earlier, like as I was passing through Dynamite. I mean, we don't need to go back to the exact page. People can find it on their own. But I saw that there's going to be a regular show comic continuation because regular show went off the air a couple of years back, and now there's going to be a regular show 25 years later graphic novel that's going to continue the story of regular show and the characters as they go back for a reunion at the camp. I don't know if the original creators have anything to do with it, but it looks like it at least has the same art style as regular show did. So,
oh, sure,
yeah.
Well, I remember Boom had an ongoing regular show comic coming out a few years ago too. Yeah, that definitely did involve people who worked on the show. So hopefully this one does too.
Hopefully, it may have very well been Boom. Now that I'm thinking about it, that had it solicited. I'm not entirely sure.
Yep, I can confirm that.
All right, great.
There is a trade paperback being solicited on page 225.
All right, great. All right, so flipping through the rest here, I see on page 355 that this was previously solicited in New to Order, so it may just be a resolicit, but I see Stan Lee, The Man Behind Marvel, the softcover. By Bob Batchelor. It looks like it's going to be the story of Stan for the most part. And I am always interested in learning more about Stan Lee, so this may be a book that I pick out from the library or pick up on my own if the price is right.
Yep, now more than ever.
Yes.
Stan's story is crying out to be told.
Hear, hear.
Hopefully we'll delve more into his life and times beyond his time at Marvel.
Yes. Nothing else offhand, but I am not giving up yet.
Yes, forge on to the manga section, if nothing else.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't think I have anything else to highlight here. Yeah. Chris has already paid our homage to tomorrow's publications.
And Titan doesn't have anything for me this month. Looking through it, there's going to be a Disney movie special #1 for Dumbo, but I don't think I care. Kind of getting tired of these Disney live action redos of animateds.
Mm-hmm.
Just to keep the license alive.
Right, feeding on the corpses of their own creativity.
Exactly. Here's one on page 375, Cannonball. It's a debut graphic novel by Kelsey Roten. And it fires the reader straight into the messy life of Caroline Bertram, aspiring writer, queer art school graduate, near alcoholic, and self-proclaimed tortured genius. Drawn in a classic style with big truths and wit. Looks like a nice down-to-earth slice of life graphic novel, and this is the first one out for Kelsey Roten. And if the inside art looks anything like the cover, then I'm going to like it.
Oh, something I've just noticed on the very next page, on page 376, University Press of Mississippi being reoffered for Black History Month. Black superheroes, Milestone Comics, and their fans. I bring this up primarily because I took classes with the guy who wrote this book.
Oh, wow.
Yep, Dr. Jeffrey Brown. Yeah, he's a member of the pop culture faculty at Bowling Green State University. Yeah, he taught a class called Women in Action, which 13 years later is actually even more topical than it was at the time I took it. And one of the things we read was Gail Simone's Birds of Prey.
Nice.
But well before that, I think this was his first published book on the subject of comic books. He's gone on to write one or two others since. But yeah, this one dealt with black superheroes, and particularly those of the notably and pointedly diverse cast of characters appearing in Milestone Comics, and doing an ethnographic study of the people who read those comics. Because to certain pop culture professionals, it's not real pop culture scholarship if you're not out there canvassing the people who consume it. And that's one of the things that Jeff did. And so here's his book being offered again. So if you want to learn from the man who taught me, this is your Dagobah moment, but buy and read this book.
On a related note, on the letters page for the Wrong Earth's final issue, it was announced that there's going to be a sequel series to Black called White that Jamal Igle is going to be providing art for.
Really?
Yep. So,
and will that be published by Ahoy?
Not by Ahoy. It's going to be out of Black Mask,
Black
just like
Mask, right.
just like
Black
was.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep. But that's one of the reasons why they're doing the Wrong Earth in seasons, though, is so that Jamal can devote himself to one project at a time.
All right. And hopefully give us some more Molly Danger at some point, too.
Yes, definitely. I do want to mention on page 380, Valiant. It looks like Matt Kint's run on Exo Man of War is concluding after 26 issues on the title. He's one of the ones who revived the series in the first place, and this is the end of his Eisner Award critically acclaimed run. So we'll see who takes it over after this, or whether they keep it rolling, but this is it for Matt Kindt on XO.
Well, Godspeed to him.
Yes.
Well, and while we're talking about Valiant, let's throw out a mention on pages 378 and 79. A new series from Cullen Bunn and Adam Gorin. It's called Punk Mambo, and it's a combination of New Orleans voodoo and London punk rock. The title character of Punk Mambo is a modern-day voodoo priestess who is... she grew up in London, relocated to the New Orleans Bayou, and she's having an adventure. It's a deadly mystery adventure that's going to force her to come to grips with both aspects of her eclectic heritage.
Fascinating, I say.
Well, I'm sure Cullen Bunn hopes it is.
So,
but it's 50% off at dcbservice.com.
Yes. Excellent. So are you interested on page 393? Go ahead and bring yourself down there. 390.
I have brought myself there, and I'm bringing myself right past it again.
Oz, Heart of Magic.
Yeah, Oz, Heart of... Right. It's from Zenescope, and it's really hard for me to take anything that they publish seriously.
Fair enough.
I mean, especially when it's Oz-related, and you know how finicky I am about my Oz adaptations.
Yes, you are.
I noticed that it's written by Terry Kavanagh, a guy whose work I used to read and enjoy at Marvel back in the 90s. He was an editor there, also wrote some Spider-Man stuff, some Moon Knight stuff.
Okay.
But I'm not nostalgic enough for his 90s Marvel work to make me want to check out his scripting on a soft porn take on The Wizard of Oz. I'm just not down with that. Sorry.
I am 100% okay with that.
Very good. Very good.
I did find my manga because I need to call out anything by Denpa because once again they are friends of mine and I want them to get some good stuff, and it is a featured item in the manga section. Heavenly Delusion, Volume 1 comes out this month. It's a science fiction manga with a compelling tale of contrasting and potentially colliding worlds filled with their own unique horrors. In the safety of the walls, youths are raised in a nursery setting by robots, outside is a hellscape with powerful technology and equally powerful supernatural beings. That sounds like some good sci-fi action right there.
Mm.
And DCBS has it for 30% off of its normal price of $12.95 for a good old $9.07.
Okay, and all this can be found on page 428.
Yes. Manga. And, oh boy, here we go. I found one from the creator of One Punch Man, so...
Oh, all right.
That's immediately something that I want in my life. Need to find the actual listing for it, though, because, Dub Psycho is the name of the title. And it's one that's been coming out for a while now, I know of. I just have to find where it's actually listed because they just had an ad in the middle of the previews rather than actually give me the listing for it. So now I need to scroll down and find it. You're so helpful sometimes, previews. Right, you know what? Let me just find it on the DCBS site. Let's see.
Any idea of the publisher?
Dub Psycho, that's another good question.
It's Dark Horse.
Oh, wow. Mob Psycho. That's what it was. Thank you. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Mob Psycho Volume 1, I will mention here. One Punch Man is easily one of my favorite mangas, and it's also an excellent anime. The second season will finally be happening after years of waiting for it. But this is the other series that the creator of that, who only goes by the name of One, made. And, Mob Psycho, not Dub, because the type is very hard to read on that cover project, but so figure.
I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, Dub Psycho is a more interesting title.
I agree with you. Do you or someone you know need an exorcist who works cheap? Reagan's your guy. I think that's all we need to know about this. So we're working with exorcists here, and we're working with supernatural, and we're working with some humor, because he always brings that to the table. One is very much known for that. So,
I would expect.
Yep. Mob Psycho 100, $7.19 on DCBS, 40% off. And like you said, that's out of Dark Horse. Bye.
All right.
I think that's it for me.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, if you've no more manga to talk up or any merch from the back of the book, like all the way to the back, the flipped side of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much never do.
Yeah, I very rarely have anything there, but I'm looking at the T-shirts just for the heck of it. They're definitely looking to sell you stuff on Free Comic Book Day. That much is true.
Yeah, that's right. Only the comics are free.
Yep. I do see some really nice Premiere Collection statues available. They've got a Scarlet Witch. They got a Kitty Pryde with Lockheed. They got a Daredevil. They got a Magneto and a Hobgoblin. Looks like Hobby is holding Spider-Man's costume in both hands too. It looks like he just ripped them apart. And there's a very nice Mystique as well.
That's based on a famous cover. I don't know the issue number, of course, but
yeah, I kind of figured. But that's it looks very cool, but of course it'll be way out of my price range. Voltron T looks pretty nice. Doctor Who cats, no thank you. Yeah, you know what? Actually, that's about it. I think, because the rest of this just all looks like the same old. So I think I've shot my bolt.
All right, that's 2 shot bolts side by side on the floor.
Excellent.
And Chris's, of course, were shot quite some time ago.
Yep. And I'll toss out there that if you would like to muddle the murd, please go ahead and send your submissions in, as we are running low on questions. So if you want to go ahead and attempt to muddle the murd, put muddle the murd in your headline when you submit, and send us one question which is pre-1970s, one question that's 1970 to 2000, and one that's 2000 to present. One question must be independent, one Marvel, and one DC, to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. And if you are quick enough and you are smart enough and you maneuver just right, you, sir, madam, or otherwise, may muddle the Murd. And you win a prize, and then Murd will mail it to you. Alrighty, remind the folks who we're sponsored by.
All right, my pleasure, Ian. Yep, this episode of CGS Previews was brought to you by the Discount Comic Book Service. Visit their website at dcbservice.com to find out all about this month's discounts and to learn how they can put their excellent online comics ordering and subscription service to your use. Yes, it's a service that we all use and we all love, and we're very grateful for their sponsorship.
Yes, we are.
If you'd like to send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, you can call 267-702-6642. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @comicgeekspeak. You can visit our forums at thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com to enthuse about what looks good to you in this month's previews catalog, and leave feedback on various other episodes of our show, and to engage in discussions with your fellow CGS listeners and comic fans on a bunch of geeky topics that might not have to do with the show at all. We'd like to give special thanks to those of you who've donated to the show in the past. We really appreciate it. The show would not be what it is today without your monetary support. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
It's over.
Exhale.